Welcome to our Hanover Township virtual programming, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make postcards out of things that you have around the house. And they're very simple and they're a lot of fun, and I wanted to share them with you because I think it's a good idea to send mail out to your friends so that you can keep in touch and let them know that you're thinking of them. So these are some ones that I've gotten in the mail and from friends. I have a lot of artist friends, and some of them are collage. Some of them are just drawn on. Here's a collage one. And if you want to get really fancy, you can sew and actually mail it. This was mailed from England, I believe, several years ago. But you just have to make sure that the edges are completely secured. This one was sewn, but you want to make sure it's glued down. So glue all your edges really, really well. So I was playing around and thinking, what could I use to make postcards with? So I went through and I thought, well, I can draw. Easy. And all you need are some markers, maybe some pencils. If you have crayons, raid your grandkids or your kids' stash, which I did. And then I just started doodling and drawing, and I ran into a little bit of a problem. So I'll tell you how I fixed that in a moment. But then I also thought, well, what can I use? So I thought, well, maybe I can use flyers from food stores and from hardware stores, because I get a lot of these every week. I have old junk mail and old cards and napkins that would make neat backgrounds, and then being an artist, I have all kinds of scraps. And then what about magazines? So I have some gardening magazines which have beautiful photos in them, and since I'm done reading them, just rip out the pages and pick out the things that I like. So just gorgeous, right? So that's what I did with this, was with the newspaper ads, and I wanted to get a little bit silly and fun because I want to keep it upbeat. And this one says, I'm waiting to share fish stories with you, because I found a pair of waders in the hardware store ad. All right, and just went with that, and then something fish from the grocery store ads. And here's another one, what's cooking good looking? And then you could just put a stamp and the address and a little note on the back side. So I want to show you how to do that. So there are different sizes, and I looked it up on U.S. Postal Service and what is a standard U.S. postcard. And the sizes have to be within these requirements here. So the smallest it can be is 3.5 inches by 5 inches. And that's what this size is. I thought it was a bit too small, and I also had to stop and make measuring increments, and I didn't want to think too hard. So then I went with this size, 4 by 6. Now the biggest you can make it is 4.25 by 6, and I thought, why work so hard? Why not just make it 4 by 6 or 4 by 5, something easy. So what I did is I made a template out of some heavy-duty cardstock. You can also use a cereal box, cracker box, cut that out, and then you can trace around it. And the 4 by 6 seemed like the perfect size for me, and it was easy to work with. So another note I want to say is that it costs 35 cents in postage to send a postcard in the mail. So if you don't have postcard stamps, it's not that much more to just put a regular stamp on it and be done with it. Then you don't have to go out. You can just stick it in your mailbox and go. So what I was experimenting with was how many pages do I need in order to get cards. So if I were to cut in a standard piece of cardstock or standard piece of copy paper, I could get 2 4 by 6 or 4.25 by 6, which is what these increments are, and 2 of these 3.5 by 5 inch cards, like this. So a total of 4. So you're not wasting much except this little tiny strips. And these templates and instructions are on our website at hanover-township.org in the virtual programming tab. You'll find them there. So you don't have to go and redo everything. There'll be a downloadable PDF for you. And so to make it easy, there you go. So what I did was I used my template, and I used cardstock. You can use copy paper, but I think for mailing something, you want to use something heavier like a cardstock paper, which is I have here. I got a lot of supplies, so I just happen to have some. You can use colored paper too if you have it, like scrapbooking paper. So I took my template made out of my heavy-duty card or your cardboard box that you've cut apart, and I just simply traced around it, cut it out, and then I'm ready to go. So something that you might want to work on while you're doing your pages is a sheet of palette paper. It's kind of waxy on one side. If you don't have palette paper, you can use waxed paper, which is really nice, or a piece of cards, piece of your copy paper underneath, so you don't get glue on your tabletop, because it's a little hard to take off once you start gluing. So I already picked out some pretty pictures to use. So this is an old bag from shopping. Then I found these pretty cutouts from one of my gardening magazines. And then I had this from an old card. And I thought, boy, those would be pretty together. So I played around and did something called dry fit. I made sure that I had things that coordinated, but not so much that you couldn't see them individually. So I took my template and I traced around it for the background. So I've glued the background of the little girl picture, and I'm going to lay it on my cutout for the background contrast. And make sure you rub it down. If you don't like getting sticky fingers, you can use a bone folder. Make sure it's nice and flat, no wrinkles. So there's that. And then I've got this little thing I thought I'd cut around that. And I'm just going to go really quickly around the flowers, just to give it some interest. So now I'm ready to glue everything down. So I'm going to do a dry fit first. And that means putting something down first on without glue, and then say I like finding your composition. So here I really like this kind of thing where she's looking at the flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and glue, and that's basically what you need to do. So I'm going to glue this sheet rather than this because I don't want glue sticking out on the edges of the card stock that I cut for my postcard. And now you can see why it's good to have something on the tabletop, because I'm going over to the edges and it gets really sticky. Lay this down, smooth it out with my bone folder. Make sure all the edges are glued nice. And then I just keep gluing away. So I'm going to glue this little flower piece on. Position this where I had planned it. Bone folder again, it's really nice. If you don't have a bone folder, you can use your pencil. Smooth that out. Works just about as well. This is a little easier to grasp than this. And then I have my little doll. She gets glued on the back, and my fingers are getting sticky. And there you go.